it's a family-friendly atmosphere. I would be hard-pressed to find a direct correlation between any health outcomes in North Carolina and craft breweries. I think that is a preposterous attempt to make some sort of causation or correlation. We should be very careful about that with these small businesses who do great work to keep our communities safe. You all know what it would do. The chairman already presented it. I just wanted to say that this would be good for small business. It would be good for consumers. The system as it stands was not built for a 21st century marketplace. We have small breweries that need the flexibility that some of the provisions in this bill provides to be nimble enough. Again, imagine going through all the challenges over the past couple of years and being told that you do not have the flexibility you need to pivot, to not just survive in Georgia, but thrive in Georgia. We have built, thanks to smart policy decisions by this committee and others, a system that has enabled more breweries. Senate Bill 85, our transfer bill a few years ago. But those were small steps, which we were very grateful for, that enabled breweries to open up across the state, but now there are real systemic issues that prevent them from thriving and not just surviving. And survival is absolutely on the table right now. It is absolutely on the table when we've had north of 15 breweries close. My question is, and I think this should be asked, there are breweries closing in Georgia and elsewhere, but we're focused on Georgia. How many wholesalers, as a result of these reforms in other states, changes to franchise law, reforming franchise law to be more fair and equitable, or limited self-distribution for small brewers to be able to build their brand locally, how many of those have resulted in wholesalers shuttering their doors? In fact, we have economic data that shows that in many of these states where these reforms have been passed, wholesalers do nominally better and employ more people. And we'll be happy to share that with the committee. Sam from the Brew Association will be happy to help us compile that. So thank you again for your consideration of Senate Bill 163. This is absolutely not a binary choice for us. This is not a anti-wholesaler or pro-wholesaler or a pro. This is a pro-small business bill that gives folks flexibility to choose the path that is right for them. And for many folks here, that path will absolutely end up on a wholesaler truck, getting across the state where those wholesalers serve their customers. But we need more flexibility. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your favorable support on Senate Bill 163.
Thank you, Mr. Cortez. I like this one, Casey Smith, Redneck Gourmet, my kind of guy. Let's see what you got. Steve Noonan. Okay.
I'm Casey Smith. Thank y'all for having me. I got a little different spin on this. I am from Noonan, Georgia. I'm the owner of Redneck Gourmet. I've owned the business for 32 years, and I employ about 25 employees, and I've sold beer and wine at my restaurant for as long as they would allow me to. And I've just recently opened a speakeasy in the basement of my building. As a restaurant owner, we look at we're a community, and we have lots of restaurants in town. Recently had a brew pub open up, which has been great for the town. For me, I look at this as I'm not against competition, but I do think that we should be a level playing field. And the part that I'm looking at is I have to abide by certain rules that the brew pubs do not have to. We have a 50-50 food. I have to sell 50% of my business has to be food compared to alcohol. And the food side of it is the difficult part. So when rules are being passed to make it easier for breweries to do business as competing with me as restaurants, it's difficult because a lot of my money goes toward the restaurant side. And all I ask, life isn't fair, and I'm not asking for fair. I'm just asking for the ability to be on a level playing field and for the rules to be on each side. So it's hard for me to compete with someone that's able to open up something that can just sell alcohol. Alcohol is very profitable, and I've learned that over the years. But I have a restaurant because we're required to sell at least 50%. And I pay my staff a lot of money on the restaurant side of it compared to the bar side of it. So, like I said, I guess this is a little bit different spin on the distribution side. I just would like for it to be where it's more level playing field. So that's where I'm standing. So I'm opposed to this bill, and more opposed to continuing to make it, easier and easier on one group. Let's try to, I'd love to have a little help myself.
Thank you. I recognize Senator Summers for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is that alcohol or is that beer that you have that you're dealing with?
I do all three. It's beer, wine, and distilled spirits in my bar. But I do sell beer and wine.
But that you couldn't open up a brewery if you wanted to side beside your restaurant and do the same thing?
No, because I own a restaurant that sells alcohol.
All right. Thank you for being with us. Good to hear from you. All right, my final speaker, Martin Smith, Georgia Beer Wholesalers Association.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm Martin Smith. I represent the Georgia Beer Wholesalers Association. We represent the members, the distributors across the state. And I know y'all are on time, so I just want to kind of hit through a few things to correct. Brands are really released and reassigned on a weekly basis on an average of twice a week. That's according to the Department of Revenue. The people who've come and testified in the past in this committee themselves have been released and reassigned to different folks. So it's not a lifetime contract by any means. It even is in the code that if there's calls, you can do it. This is just asking to be able to release without calls. I think it's important to say that the state has been very successful. It's a great place to live, work, and brew beer. The growth, as they've been said, is just numbers from 10 to about 180 breweries today. We keep talking about how it goes in North Carolina. In North Carolina, yes, they have opened it up for self-distribution. But what's very interesting in North Carolina, their closure rate between 21 and 22 was double the closure rate as it is in Georgia. There were 13 closures in those years versus 5 here. There is a great success, and that's because of the system we have in place that y'all have been so grateful in maintaining and in the integrity of this. What allows for that is the separation of tiers, the 3-tier system. You've got the manufacturers, you have the distributors, and you have the retailers. The gentleman that just spoke is the retailer and is expressing that he has a business that can thrive with alcohol sales. But just down the street from him is a brewery that has a tap room, which is great, was intended for people to come in and taste the product and go buy it somewhere else next time. But what's happened is that is a very profitable activity for them. That they can go in there, they don't have to follow the 50-50 rules. They can be in communities that don't allow bars and function as such. And it's not that you can go buy beer there and you're going to buy it somewhere else. It's just, as the gentleman said, it's an unfair advantage over this on business. So it does affect the retailers on this. It affects us. This bill would provide for manufacturers, brewers, to become distributors. So if you look at the rules today, there are brewers, which are manufacturers, 1 tier. You can go in there today and buy retail, sit at their bar, buy all you want, buy a case of beer to go each day. You can buy up to 6,000 barrels of beer per brewery today at that bar. That is 2 million beers. You tell me where somebody's not able to get their capacity with 2 million beers, and I'll agree with what was just said. So you can buy all you want there at that bar. So they're clearly in the retail tier. Now this bill that's being proposed allows for them to be distributors. How is that not operating in all 3 tiers and destroying the integrity that allowed for this flourishing environment? And it's not, I want to make a good point. It is not new money that would be going to these breweries. That's money that's being transferred over that would be made and sold in retail and distributors. They're just transferring this over, and I would argue it's at the demise of the industry. So I know we need to keep it short. I hope I've made it clear that what's being proposed in here has been kind of misguided on what it can do. Referencing North Carolina, their closure rate's a lot faster than ours. And our people are, just so you know, we're not the big monsters. We're small businesses across this state, employing people, having employees from maybe 30 to a couple of hundred. We've got about 4,000 employees across this state. There's employees in every one of your districts that work for a distributor. And that's who this affects. It is directly moving money from them and the investments that they have and to this industry, and it's detrimental. And so I kindly request that y'all oppose this bill.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right, what's the pleasure of the committee?
Can I wrap back up?
Oh, yeah, go right ahead. Give us
And-
we got 4 minutes. If you want to vote
well-
today, talk fast.
I had some people leave, and so I would like to take care of Senator Ginn's question offline too. So if I could just close and perhaps approach this another time, but I do want to say to a couple of points. The 50% sale ratio, a lot of that's local ordinances. Cities, some of them set those ratios, some of them don't. So I would talk to the city people about that. As far as it seeming like Georgia's had more that didn't close during that time, the reason is because Governor Kemp. Governor Kemp opened the economy back up. We didn't close like some other states did, and that saved a lot of businesses in a lot of areas. And the third point, it sounds like this is some crazy idea, except that 30-something states do it, and they're doing better than we are, and it will work great, and I hope this committee will look at it in the future.
Did you have a response to Senator Ginn, or did you just give it?
Well, he said that he wanted to talk to me offline on
Okay.
it, so
Would it be your preference to withhold action on the bill today?
so I'll talk to
All
him
right,
offline, yeah.
the public hearing is closed. There will be no further testimony on this issue. If any of you have information that you would like to provide to the committee to consider prior to voting, get that to me. We are more than likely going to probably vote on this if there's a motion on the bill, probably at our next meeting, but very soon.